And I feel women in the fitness industry has been preying on women that they need women-specific things. But sports science, the principles of sports science and the training zones and all of that don't change just because you're a woman in menopause or perimenopause. All those things still apply.
Welcome to Unstoppable at Any Age. I'm Dr. Shawna Darou, naturopathic doctor, master's athlete, and founder of a global movement helping women train for their future health. This podcast exists for one reason: to expand what you believe is possible with age. Each week, I sit down with women who are redefining the trajectory of their lives, athletes, scientists, founders, and leaders who are continuing to build strength, performance, and momentum in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond. Along the way, we explore the science of metabolic health, movement, and longevity, and the daily decisions that protect your brain, your body, and your future. Because how you move today determines how you live tomorrow. This is Unstoppable at Any Age. Today's show, I'm joined by Phaedra Kennedy, a Toronto endurance athlete who specializes in working with women, the majority of whom are peri- or postmenopausal. She's an age group runner and a triathlete herself, and such an incredible resource about how to adjust and support training through this phase of life especially, and also how to continue to chase your big goals. Phaedra, welcome to Unstoppable at Any Age. I'm so grateful you're here with me today. I've been really looking forward to this conversation. It's not often that I get to geek out about menopause and training. Those don't overlap in my world that often, so I'm really excited that you're here today.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I've been following you online for quite a few years now. And what I've loved, especially the past couple of years, is how direct and frank you are about talking about menopause and training, both from your own perspective and your coaching. It's super refreshing and real. And as a woman who is trained through her menopause as well, it's really just nice to hear that other women are going through these annoying issues as well, because you don't know what's your own physiology and limitations and what's common. So tell me a bit more about you, and let's start with your training first. And then I want to sidestep a little bit about how you got into this work because it wasn't always your career.
No, it wasn't. My training now,
Yes.
right now, I'd say it's some of my lowest volume. I've been a pretty high volume trainer for athlete, I should say, for a long time because I do endurance sports and half Ironman was my thing. My last Ironman was in 2022, and that was the last time I was like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Okay.
So I've gone from training 15 hours a week average to probably, I'm going to say about 8 right now. And 3 of those hours are strength sessions.
Right.
5 hours of endurance training now versus 15. It's been a big shift, and that's just been in the last 2 years that's happened. It's just I've lost the desire to do long course stuff now.
Okay.
You know what? Don't want to do that anymore. I like working with people to do that, and maybe that's something I will come back to at some point. But right now, I want to focus on short course, a little bit faster work versus the long 4, 5, 6 hour bike rides. I don't have time for that on the weekends anymore.
Okay.
Dialing that back a little bit. So my endurance volume is much lower now, and I've really focused on strength over the last probably 8 months. I've gone up to 3 sessions a week. Normally, I'm at about 2 sessions a week and plus a core session. But now that my endurance volume is lower, I was like, I'm going to use that extra time and I'm going to go in the gym. So that's what I've done. I have 2 days where one's mostly lower body, one is a hybrid, and the other is upper body. Because my goal was to put on some muscle over the off season. And I would say that my legs have definitely done that. My upper body is like, you're going to have to work a whole lot harder to do this, sister, because I'm not going to let you. I have toothpick arms and muscular legs. So it's been a real journey, shall
Right.
we, to try to get this to happen. I've put on some muscle mass in my arms, but it's been really hard. Not as easy as it was when I was in my 40s. Like when I was lifting in my 40s, 2 times a week. I had like guns, I had nice shoulders. I was in good shape.
Yeah.
Now it's a little bit harder at 55.
Yeah, our bodies do change. And I think it's great that you're listening to what your body needs right now and what lights you up and what feels good. And that's the thing with sport is that we can change directions. Last year I was running the Boston Marathon around this time, and now I'm racing 800 meters on the track. So, like again, it's okay to shift it, to say I don't want to do that distance stuff right now. It doesn't feel right in this moment. You can always go back there. It's not a closed door.
Yeah.
But that's what I love about it is that you don't have to get pigeonholed into one event and stay there.
Yep. And I think that's for women that have been like long time endurance athletes, I've been doing endurance sports since my late 20s.
Hmm.
So I ran my first marathon at 30. So 25 years later, I've done a lot of endurance work.
Yes.
And I've raced short course in there too, but really the endurance side of things was my identity. And
Hmm.
I went through a phase post menopause, post Ironman, where I was like, I don't know that I want to do this anymore. And I felt lost. I felt lost
Mm.
because it's obviously what I do, it's what I coach, but
Yes.
it was such a massive part of my identity that I was just like, who am I without this?
Wow, that's interesting.
I really didn't know. And I did not expect that in menopause. That's something that the mental side of things that came up was really shocking to me. It was really, I just thought it's physical symptoms, it's all this. I didn't expect
Hmm.
the mental symptoms that I had, like that feeling of loss of, there's a specific term for it. I can't remember what it is. I think it's anohenia or something like that, where you just lose interest in the things that used to fire you up. You feel apathetic about them. And that's what I felt like that. And so my volume went down. I started looking for different challenges versus long distance triathlon, doing, I think it was 2023, the Patriot Challenge in Philly, which is running the half marathon in the
Hmm.
morning. And then a few hours later, you run an 8K. I will tell you, that was really hard.
Yes.
But I was like, you know what? This will be an interesting way to train. Like it's an interesting puzzle for me to try to figure out how can I train for that. So there's
Hmm.
a lot of double runs. There was some long runs with like threshold runs after. When I stretched out my training cycle to a 10-day cycle versus the traditional 7-day, because I can do that. I work from
Yeah.
home. I have a flexible schedule. It's easier for me to do a long run in the middle of the week than most people. So I gave myself ample recovery, which is, I think, really the most important thing as you age. You need that. And I found that I needed that. I couldn't do the traditional, okay, you're going to do 2 speed sessions in a week and then your long run. I just couldn't do
Hmm. I've
that.
heard that a lot, that the stretching the training cycle for endurance athletes really works to do a 10-day instead of a seven,
Yeah.
because, yeah, it's a lot of intensity with
Yeah.
not enough downtime in between. And yeah, that's how we get injured.
100%. Yeah. And my brain still thinks I'm 30. So I go
Hmm.
and do stupid things sometimes and I end up paying the price. Something that I could have easily done at 30 or 35. I'm like, I could still do that. No, you can't. Like, I learned this. Even though I know there was an instance like it was 2024. I was back in the gym. I was lifting twice a week, was doing pretty heavy stuff, and I was trying to build for the Georgina half. I was going to run Georgina in the spring.
Hmm.
And I was doing hill repeats, and I had done a strength session that morning. I didn't leave enough time between the two, and I think I had obviously overloaded things, adding the bike in there too, because I was still cycling inside. I think I had done the previous weekend. A friend was like, let's climb Alpe du Zwift, which is this stupid mountain in Zwift, which is an online cycling platform. So I was like, all right. Hour and a half later, I'm at the top and I'm like, oh my God, that was terrible. I could feel my hamstring, just a little, that little niggle. And then I just kept going because it was just a little niggle, right? It's just little.
Right.
I thought it would settle down. It didn't settle down. And then sure enough, it turned into full-blown hamstring tendonitis. So I was like, okay, that was it for my running for the latter half of 2024.
Yeah, it's a classic perimenopause menopause issue. The tendons change. So
Yep.
my understanding is they get shorter and more brittle and more easily
Yes.
inflamed without estrogen. And yeah, I don't know a single woman around menopause who hasn't had some kind of tendon issue.
Yep. And I
Hmm.
tore that same hamstring in 2016. So I was 45 years old and I was
Uh,
probably at that point I was just starting perimenopause and I tore that hamstring right at the sit bone. Really small
oh,
little tear. It was terrible. But I didn't run for probably 3 months. And I took about a month off of cycling. I could still swim. And then once I was able to ride again, I spent the rest of the summer on the bike. So my bike
hmm.
fitness was awesome by the end of the summer. My running was like not terrible, but because I had good aerobic fitness still.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that hamstring now, however many years later, at least I didn't tear it, but it was the same hamstring.
Okay. There's vulnerability there that hadn't
Mhm.
fully healed. Yeah. So tell me about your career shift in your 40s because you weren't always a coach and the way you present online, it feels like you've always done this.
I like that's very nice to say. That, thank you. I feel that. So I worked in advertising for, oh God, when did I start? I started at West Side Studio. That was my last place of employment. I started there in 2000, I think. And
Mm.
before that, I had worked with a couple of other photographers in a freelance capacity, doing either production or being a sales rep. I'm not a good salesperson. I was like, that's not for me. But production was like, ooh, I can make stuff happen. I'm good at organizing things. So that's what I did. And I did that for 16 years. I worked there. It was like a family, right? Like it's
Hmm.
a smaller business. Everybody there, we all knew each other. We would hang out. Like it was such a great place to work. But the stress as I got into perimenopause, and this is all like hindsight's 2020, right? Like you
Yes.
realize the shifts that are happening and how they like that fluctuating estrogen just affects everything. I started
Hmm.
to develop really high anxiety towards in my last 2 years there. So 44, 45. Whereas previously we'd come up and it would be getting ready for shoot day. I was fine. Everything was calm. I would sleep the night before. And then that, as I started to move into perimenopause, shoot days became like sources of not quite terror, but like I wouldn't sleep the night before, especially if we had a difficult client. I got to the point where I was like, I don't know that I can continue to do this. And I had been coaching people part-time 2 years at that point, and my husband kept saying, just quit. We'll be fine. Just quit. And I'm like, no, because I knew that leaving a full-time job and doing my own thing, I was probably not going to be making that much money. And of course, you worry about that, right? We don't have
Yes.
kids. So that was one less thing to worry about. But still, I want to contribute. I don't want to ride on my husband's coattails. So we ended up selling our house in 2016, like stupid real estate market. We made some money, and that little nest egg was my jumping off point. I was like, okay, we have this money in the bank. We found a house that was actually cheaper. I thought, okay, now's the time. My husband was like, no excuses now, just do it. So I quit. I quit in October of 2016 and I said I'd stay till the end of the year to help them find someone and train that person. So December, whatever the last day was, 20 something, 2016, I said, see you later. Here's my full-time coaching as of January 1st, 2017. So I
That's
had started,
awesome.
yeah, I started PK performance coaching in 2015. I registered the name as an official business. And then 2017 was when I started taking on people full time. I had 5 or 6 athletes at the time. I had a waiting list of people that were like, I said, I am going to be going full time in January. I will take you at that point if you want to wait. And people did. I think I had 3 or 4 people actually wait.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was like, oh, yay. So it took me a little while to build that up, but it's been amazing and I wouldn't change it for the world. It's probably the best decision I've made.
That's super inspiring because, again, instead of leaning into the anxiety and how things were not working for you, you recreated a life that did,
Yep, that's exactly
right?
it.
Yeah, that with whatever perspective that you needed to take care of yourself through this transition, you were able to do and still love your job and work with people in a way that is fulfilling and giving back in the right kind of way. I see it a lot. I see a lot of women fumbling with their careers related to their hormone shifts. And also, there's a huge emotional and mental side to menopause that, again, I don't think a lot of people recognize until the hindsight, until they've blown up their life in one plane or another
Yeah.
because they had to, because they couldn't tolerate what they tolerated for so many years. That's the way I look at it.
Yes, true.
And it takes a lot of courage to take the leaps and not fall into the pit of the mental health despair that can come with that and creating a new identity.
I think I knew in my gut that I wouldn't be able to survive in that environment. I couldn't imagine myself at 50 in that job. That was what was in my head. When I'm 50, am I still going to be here? Do I still want to be doing this? The answer was absolutely fucking not.
Oh, wow. Good that you listened to it because I don't know where your mental health would be right now if you didn't.
I'd be miserable.
I'm lucky with my work that I can shift it as I go. And this project is part of like my sort of reinvention as well. But I don't see nearly as many patients in a day as I used to. And I have to put buffer breaks in between every single appointment now so that I can like calm myself down, have a glass of water, make sure I eat on time, lie down sometimes because I can't do the back to back like I used to, or at least I don't want to. I don't want that frazzled state that I lived in for decades.
Yes, I completely understand that. I do monthly calls with my athletes and I have to rethink it because, like you, I need that space in between talking to people to go over my notes, put my notes in there, get up, go to the bathroom, grab some food, do whatever. So sometimes I only get 15 minutes between calls and I've been jamming them into a week or 7 days. Sometimes I spread it out over 1 week, part of 1 week, part of another week, but I can't do that anymore. It's
Mm,
way too much because then I'm scrambling to get programming done. I don't get time to do any of the other things that I should be doing as a small business owner, like social media, continuing education. I have to squeeze that in when I can, my own training. I have a different plan for this moving forward, but I am very much like you in that sense where I need that. And I don't think I used to be like that. I used to be able to handle all of that. Now it's like my nervous system needs that like chill time.
hmm Yeah,
Right.
sometimes I literally lie down.
Oh, I have to set an alarm. Anytime my head goes sideways, there needs to be an alarm set or I'm not up.
Oh, amazing. So tell me more about like how you going through menopause has changed how you coach other women.
Ooh. Now, I think the biggest shift for me was realizing that I don't have to have a perfect week of training to still be successful, right? I tick every single box in there. Realistically, my body is going to dictate what I'm able to do on any given day at this stage of life because my energy is not going to be the same every single day. And I really noticed that in perimenopause, where it was like I would muscle my way through sessions that I probably should have skipped
Hmm
a lot of the time because I was just, I got to keep going. I got to keep going. And type A endurance athletes are all type A people, most of
hmm
us. Letting go of that is freeing in my mind. You're not a slave to your training plan, knowing that, you know what, if I need to modify something, it's okay. And that's really how I coach is like,
Mm,
you need to listen to your body first and foremost. Your watch will tell you some things, but do not be a slave to that data because it's
right.
generic. Learn to understand the signals your body's giving you. And don't be afraid to modify something. I always talk about consistency, and consistency to me is like getting something in, even if it's not exactly what was programmed. If I give someone a hard bike session and they get on the bike and they're like, that is not happening today, do 30 minutes easy.
Yeah,
I give
great.
all my athletes permission to do that. And I think giving them that permission, they feel less guilty because there is this guilt that comes with being an endurance athlete and this type of training. If you miss a workout, everybody feels guilty. And I'm like, don't feel guilty. Why? Why do you feel guilty? You're doing this for fun and enjoyment,
Yes.
right? It's not your job. You're not getting paid to do it. Don't feel guilty. So release the guilt. That's the hardest part for a lot of people. And I think I still feel guilty myself from time to time, missing things or adjusting things, but I know in the long run, it's going to benefit me. So it's that little moment of, and then I'm fine, right? I
Right.
don't ruminate on it. I don't dwell on it. It's okay. This is what I have today. Do it, move on.
I love that. Yeah. I'm known for saying something called flexible consistency.
Yes, love that. That's great. Yeah.
And that goes for every habit, like whether that's your nutrition, your sleep, your meditation, your training. There are some weeks it's just not going to happen. So you do the bare minimum and you call it a win. You
Yeah.
still did it. And
Big
some
thing.
weeks you have to adjust. Yeah, I found when I started training for track, the intensity is really high. And we have two sessions on the track that are, when I started, it was full out for me, like 90%. And literally, when I started, I couldn't do any other workouts in the week. That was it. My strength went. All I could do was yoga aside from that. I
Yeah.
did no other runs. I didn't lift any weights. I had to just adjust to those sessions. And I didn't know if I would, honestly. I was like, I'm trying this. I love it. It's fun. Let's see what happens. It took about 3 months before I could add more than one strength session back in. And I still can't get my runs more than 4 a week because I need the down days. And
Yeah.
my down days are like so down compared to before now. But
Yeah.
that's like listening to what I need. Performance has been awesome. So it's working,
Yeah.
but it doesn't match the training plan. It's way too high for me.
And that's the thing, right? Is learning your body, the new version of your body.
Yeah, it's not negotiable. If I've overdone it the next day, like I can barely get off the couch.
Yes. And you learn pretty quickly, right? When you push those boundaries, your body will tell you pretty quickly, this is too much. So it's important to listen to that.
I like that you're giving women a bit of grace to adjust their training plans according to how they feel and having the conversations about that and being realistic, but also like the other side to that is also like giving them permission to go for their goals too. And that's what I love working with coaches who are my age or older is that there's still permission to have a big dream.
Yes, 100%. I have one of my athletes is doing the half Ironman 70.3 World Championships in September. That was her
Mhm.
big goal. And she's going to go do it. She's going to go climb a mountain on her bike, swim in the Mediterranean.
Oh,
It's the same course I did in 2019, and it's amazing. She's going to have the best time. But that was her goal, is to do that.
yeah. And you supporting people to make those huge goals at any age is really cool because sport doesn't stop when you get over 50. You just adjust your training plan.
Exactly. It doesn't stop. You might just change a little bit. You might slow down a little bit. Who knows? But it doesn't stop.
Well, it depends when you started as to whether or not you slow down.
Yes, I tell
So
people that a lot.
for those of us who started really late, like I wouldn't have even considered myself an athlete until 49,
Yeah.
the slowdown hasn't happened much yet
Yes.
because I don't have anything to compare to. I wasn't a great athlete in my 30s. I never tried. So it's like everything's a PR over 50, which is a cool perspective.
You're young in your athletic career.
Not everyone plateaus right away,
No.
especially if they haven't been training for a while.
And this is the conversation I have with several of my athletes who are started triathlon later in life, like in their mid to late 40s, they started
Mhm.
triathlon. I'm like, you still have a long way to go before things start going this way. You might be here on the
Mhm.
hill. Maybe you get to the top and you stay there for a little while. Then we try and slow the decline. That's what's
Yes.
the next phase is slow the decline. You're not going to go right off a cliff, slow the decline.
I've had lots of those conversations, even with some of the athletes I've talked to in their 70s. They're still just slowing the decline. And it's not much, actually.
Oh, it doesn't start. Where did I read this? I don't think you start to notice significant drops until 75 or something like that.
That's wild to think about.
75.
Ha. So we've got it all wrong as a society, right? Like we should still be pushing our bodies and training hard
100%.
if we enjoy it.
100%. A lot of people think that you get to a certain age and you should be slowing down, you should be taking it easy, you should be doing all these things. I'm like, no. And I think we're the first generation of women that are really pushing that envelope and really pushing those boundaries. Like, played tennis, that's what she did. There was no running marathons, there was none of that.
No, I've had that conversation with my son because my mom has dementia and Why doesn't she exercise? Why didn't she exercise? I'm like, it wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
She did yoga and went for walks, and she was fit enough for her age, but exercising wasn't really what you did.
Yep. It's
Because
true.
for my kids, what I do is just normal.
I look at there's that thing floating around Instagram now that says you're likely the first woman in your line to have run a marathon or to have done
Mm,
XYZ in terms of endurance sports. And it's not wrong. Like, I'm definitely the first person in my family line that's ever done anything like that.
yeah, me too. If you're working with a woman in her 40s, let's say, and she says, what I used to do isn't working anymore, where do you start with her?
We always talk about what her recovery is like. So, what does her week
Yeah.
look like? What is her life stress like? Sometimes that is the bigger problem than training. What's going on outside of training? I talk about sleep. How's your sleep? Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good. I don't have the magic solution to improving sleep, but I will usually say it's worthwhile talking to a naturopath, for example, or somebody
Mhm.
in that realm that might be able to help you with. Sometimes supplements are helpful, other ways of managing stress. And then I will look at training
Mhm.
schedule, and sometimes there's usually a lot of taking out.
Okay.
There's not much addition. There might be addition of mobility. There's usually addition of strength because I will say, even now, there are still women that are resistant to lifting weights, endurance athletes that are resistant to
Mhm.
lifting because they find it boring. I'm like, I will make sure you are not bored in the gym. So that's my goal is to try and at least get that in there. And then we work endurance stuff around that. Sometimes it's scaling back the actual endurance side of things and giving them more than one rest day a week, which people freak out when I do that. But
Mhm.
it's only a little for a little bit of time until they feel like they're back to normal. They feel like things are a little more regulated. And then we can start to layer in a little bit more because everyone always thinks that more is better, but I always say that more is just more. And
No, I agree. I see that in my work as well. Often, when people are stalling in any area of life, we're having to pull things away. And often I have to tone down their workouts a lot temporarily, and then magically their body starts working again.
we don't have the patience everyone's always afraid of losing fitness.
Hmm.
You're not gaining anything by burying yourself either.
No, if you can't recover, you're just going to get injured and burned out and lose your love and joy for what you're doing it in the first place.
Exactly.
Recovery comes first. So if you're looking at what changes, if you're looking at training, fueling, recovery, that's the number one.
Number one, recovery comes first. Yes. And I
Yeah.
always talk about fueling too, because we were raised, diet culture was a thing, still is a thing, whatever that nonsense is now. A lot of women don't always to eat, or they feel like they struggle with eating before a workout or eating after a workout. There's just that, whereas they physically may not feel hungry, or there's a mental block around that. And I'm like, you are going to do that. If you are doing endurance sports, you need to eat. You need to fuel for your activities. Sometimes the hardest part is actually getting people to eat something small in the morning to break their fast before they go and do some kind of endurance training. And I've said to people, a graham cracker, a banana,
Right.
Gatorade. You don't have to eat a full breakfast. Just get something in your system. Tablespoon of sugar, for Pete's sake, if you really want
Yeah.
something. Get some
Yeah.
sugar in your system, go do your workout, and then eat after.
It's a
Like,
game changer.
totally.
Yeah. I remember starting that. Yeah. Like late 40s. I started eating before I ran. I'm like, oh my God, it's so much better.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the one thing I learned in my marathon training. When I started doing longer distance, I would eat a very big breakfast
Yes.
because I had the time before I had to go meet everybody. So I was like, okay, oatmeal it is with bananas and walnuts. That's what I ate.
Yes. And now we stir in the protein powder too.
And now there's like everything else in there. That's what I would have. And I think doing an Ironman also, you really start to understand how much food really is fuel
Hmm.
performance.
And even imagine how much you have to eat to train for an Ironman like that.
Those peak weeks, it was like a
Yeah.
second job eating.
Yes.
like
Because the
part-time.
amount of carbohydrates is
Oh,
wild.
I wish I tracked it. I wish I tracked my macros during that training because I would have been curious to see just how many carbohydrates I was eating in a day. And
Oh, you have to, but you need them if you're doing endurance sports. You need a lot of carbohydrates before, during, and after.
yes,
And if you don't replace the glycogen stores after, especially for postmenopause women, you get sleep disruption
yeah,
because your blood sugar is going to dip in the night. And I see this, I had this issue myself. I didn't know it was happening till I put a glucose meter on and saw the nighttime dips after workouts. On days that I do more endurance training or if I have a heavy workout, I have to have a dinner and a bedtime snack that's super high carbs. Otherwise, I don't get through the night.
makes sense. It's teaching women to not fear carbs either because that is
Yeah.
conversations with athletes where I hear carbs make me fat. I'm like, no, they don't make you fat. Make you retain water. That's what happens. That's
Yeah.
it's in the word hydrate.
Yes.
Carbohydrate.
Oh, I love that. I forgot that piece.
Hydrates your muscle. Hydrate. It's just trying to talk people out of that because carb has been demonized as being bad,
I know.
good and bad foods.
Yeah. No, there's no good and bad foods, and endurance athletes need simple carbohydrates and sugars, and that's just the reality. You can't absorb something that's not a sugar during a training session quick enough to actually fuel yourself.
Yep. No, exactly. That
Yeah.
conversation has been had several times, and it just, I'm like, please stop saying that because it doesn't make
No,
you don't make
no.
you need them.
And also, yeah, I don't know if you've run into this, but I see a lot of women who are trying to intermittent fast, and that is definitely not conducive with training. There's a time and a place for it if you're sedentary and you can't exercise, but if you're training, you have to fuel.
Agreed. Yeah, I see this up on message boards in various groups that I'm in, and I'm just like, it's not for me because I know that I don't do well in a fasted state. If I am even remotely low on carbohydrates and I go out for a run, I feel it. I get shaky, I feel terrible. So I just make sure I eat something.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I have that conversation far too often. I'm not a big fan of intermittent fasting. I would much rather women start moving their bodies more and eat.
Yeah, yes.
The opposite.
Yeah.
Physiologically and injury wise, any advice for women who are doing endurance training right now, like how to prevent and reduce injuries, especially if they are, let's say, over 45 and maybe their tendons are starting to feel vulnerable?
In the gym, lift. We always hear lift heavy weights. I think any kind of lifting is beneficial. So most people are going to start in that hypertrophy range of lifting, right? 12 to 25 reps. Actually, that's not really hypertrophy, it's more muscular endurance, but whatever, start in that range. And I think just putting on some muscle mass is helpful. Loading those your tendons, helpful. Isometric exercises also really good. Things like wall sits, long lever bridge holds for hamstrings, things like that. Add that into your program. And again, lower limb stuff, really important. Footwork, calf work, because our calves, you don't train those, you're going to lose that spring quickly, very quick.
Yes.
I noticed that. Like I stopped doing calf work for a while. I was like, what is wrong with my running? Oh,
Yeah.
get back on the calf work. So I do that all the time. Strength for sure. Most important thing you can add in as
Hmm.
a midlife athlete if you're not already lifting. Mobility work, everybody hates it, but I do it. I just leave my foam rollers out and the balls we have, the yoga strap, all that stuff is on the floor in the living room. We have two yoga mats set up in front of the TV. When I'm watching something, I will just go down on the floor and I will do something, whatever work on either my quads. My quads are usually terrible, and my hips and my lats. I tend to foam roll those a lot. I'll do range of motion work. It's not every day, but every other day.
That's
And I
awesome.
never skip a run warm up.
Yes.
Always do a warm up, always. And that usually for me involves range of motion work, a little bit of activation work. Hip airplanes probably my favorite thing to do before I go out for a run. It's usually about 10 minutes I do inside before I go out.
Super important. You can't just run out the door anymore.
No, I cannot because my body's
No.
sorry. we're not having this.
Something's
You
gonna
didn't
tear.
warm up. I'm gonna make this hell for you. There's been a couple times where I've had like a 30-minute run on the schedule, and I'm like, I just need to get out the door. And I go out the door and I'm like, oh, I feel terrible for those first 10 minutes of that 30. My body's okay, maybe we'll do this. But it would have been better if you did a warm up. So don't skip
I
the warm
know.
up. Mobility work, strength work. If you can try and prioritize sleep as much as possible, it can be hard for people. I know some people that are night owls and or they do workouts in the evening, so then it becomes hard to wind down. Getting on a regular sleep schedule for me was the best thing. Going to bed at the same time or within that same 30-minute window
Yeah.
every night. I know sometimes on the weekends, if I let that shift a little bit, my Monday is really difficult. And then getting back into my routine is difficult. If I stretch that out to, usually I'm in bed by 9:30. If I stretch it out till 10:30, 11, it takes me a couple days to get back on track. So then I'm usually crusty and cranky and off my game. Yeah, trying to stay on a regular sleep schedule. We know life happens and it's not going to be like that all the time. Trying to get
No,
back.
you're right. That's another key part of the injuries as well. Yeah. I, most people I know who are like still in sports in their 40s, 50s, 60s have had some good injuries, like some biggies, and have had to rehab them back and get back on track again. And again, it's encouraging to me to just see
Yes,
that you can get out of your sport for a few months and then get back in again often. Super good advice in terms of the mobility and the strength. Yeah, I've noticed that muscle does not stay on my body unless I work it now.
yes, same.
It just goes
Goes
very quickly.
really quickly. Yeah, I notice that if I go, I miss, if there's been a few weeks where I've had only one strength session a week, and those missing two, I feel next week, I'm like, oh, I don't feel as strong. Funny. And I feel like my body looks a little different. Could just be in my head, but like I definitely notice it when my strength volume goes down. It's always, oh, lost.
I feel it too. I start to feel a bit frail, and I don't like that feeling.
Oh, I don't like that feeling either at all.
I like walking and feeling my legs and feeling the muscles move. I don't like feeling wobbly.
No. And I like being able to carry 7 bags of groceries in on one arm,
Yes.
one trip. I don't have to go back a second time.
Yeah. So, what do you think the fitness industry has wrong about women over 40? There's just
Oh,
so much bad information out there, but yeah, name a few.
the big thing is I don't want to call out people. For a while there, it was like you had to change your training and do all these different things specifically because you were in menopause. And it got really confusing for a while for endurance athletes. People were like, what do you mean no zone two, right? There was all this talk about that's the
Right.
worst thing, spikes your cortisol, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry. If you're training for a marathon or any kind of long distance event, you absolutely need zone two. That is your bread and butter.
Yes.
You cannot, you can't run a marathon on hit and vibes. I wrote that in a post once. You can't. You need zone two. So
Yes.
it becomes more about how things get structured. And I feel women in the fitness industry has been preying on women that they need women specific things, but sports science, the principles of sports science and the training zones and all of that don't change just because you're a woman in menopause or perimenopause. All those things still apply. You need to train different systems across the board, regardless of your age. How often you train those is what will likely change as you get older. So there's none of this like women need to be doing XYZ workout. That's bullshit.
And you can't run because you're over 50 and
Yeah,
endurance is bad for you.
also
Yeah.
bullshit. And
Yeah, I agree.
you could walk for Pete's sake as a start. Like run walk as a start. Like just move your body. That's the best thing for you. Yeah, I just think it gets a little overwhelming because there's so much different mixed messages out there about you have to lift heavy, you have to do this, you have to,
Mhm.
you know what, find
Yeah,
something you like to do and do it.
I agree. A lot of people stop cardio because they've heard it's bad for them in menopause.
Yeah, which I'm like, oh, I just want to punch people in the face when I hit. No, it's not.
You just have
Instead,
to also do your strength and your mobility.
exactly. Yes.
And
It,
that's the key. You can't just do cardio. Maybe
oh,
that's what the message should be or could be. That's what I tell people. Do what you love. Just support your body around it. Was distance running really healthy for you at extremes? Probably not. But if it's your love, then you make sure that you do your recovery and your mobility and you keep your body strong and you listen to it and you take breaks when you need it.
Yep. And I think that's the big thing, right? Is you have to, loving what you do, you're willing to do the work to support that. Anybody that I work with is always willing to do, not always, most of the athletes that I work with are willing to do that little bit of extra to ensure that they can keep going in their sport.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. I love that. Yeah, loving what you do is the key. And also giving yourself permission if you're not loving it anymore to sidestep a little bit and find something that excites you.
Yep.
Yeah, like I wasn't loving the long runs of the marathons anymore. And I was like, I've heard that your strength and power goes down at menopause. Let me work on that. And it's a blast. Put on spikes and run as fast as you can around a track. It's fun. I don't think everyone says that, but
It takes a special kind of person to want to suffer for 100 meters because that's not easy.
no, but it's the 200-meter repeats and training that are really fun.
Yes, because it's short.
It's short and there's a recovery
Yes.
and it's like being a kid and kind of getting into that motion of flying for a bit.
Yeah. I like that when I do strides.
I just love it because it's so different from like the marathon gait that's just efficient.
Yes.
And at my speed, it's not that graceful, it's just efficient. It's fun to change it up
Yeah.
and fall back in love with something again.
And I think it's okay to be, a lot of us are afraid to be beginners at something at this age of life. You get it in your head that I can't do that. I can't be a beginner again. But sometimes that's the most fun part is learning.
Yeah, I mean, I found that like master sports especially are so inviting and so encouraging and there's always beginners and the social part's a lot of fun as well. Yeah.
It's really important too, I think, in this phase, right? Like
Mhm.
finding people, I think that just keeps you engaged as well. It's not just about doing the thing, it's doing the thing with the people.
Which then fills a lot of those purposeful things in life as well. So, if you're working with a woman who still wants to compete, is there anything that holds you back or how do you support her?
Oh, that's a loaded question. We have to like really look at things in a longer progression usually, the goal races, because recovery is so important. So a lot of things that I do now with some of my athletes is most traditional periodized models work on a 3-day build, 1 week recover. I've changed that for these folks, and it's 2 weeks build, 1 week recover. So that
Mm,
automatically makes your build longer. And usually that gradual ramp up seems to be effective for most of them. You can still get in good quality work and you can still push things, but you get a little bit more recovery, which I find it really helps set them up for success. So that's usually what I do with most of my masters athletes, especially ones that are 50 plus. Sometimes in the 40s, you can still get away with that 3 week build, 1 week recover. I trained like that to 51 probably. And then I started to feel it. I was like, oh, okay, no, I
yeah.
need some more recovery.
So what
Um,
does a recovery week look like? So for people who may not know, because again, I see this a lot in people who are not working with a coach,
yeah,
is that they just push hard week after week after week and expect to keep building. And this is, again, something that when I decided I was an athlete, which was not based on any time or qualification, it was just I was training, it changed completely. Like I gave myself permission to have off seasons and down weeks and
yeah,
recovery weeks.
yeah.
So tell me more about what that is, because I think that's something that's often misunderstood.
Yes, a lot of people don't understand what that is, and I always have to explain it to people when we first start working together if they've never had a recovery week. So,
Yes.
a recovery week is usually a scale back in volume. First, if you're a high volume athlete, it'll be a scale back in volume. Sometimes, for some of my athletes, there is no intensity in a recovery week either because they can't handle that. Some people are okay with a little bit of intensity in a recovery week. It just depends on the individual. But it's lower volume, usually a little bit lower intensity. Strength, depending on the phase of strength that they're in, I may keep their lifts the same that week, depending on where they're at in that particular build. Or if it lines up, like their strength deload lines up with a recovery week, I usually try to do that. They'll get a deload for strength too, which usually means a more mobility focused session versus a heavier session. It could look like just 2 sets of everything versus 3 or 4 sets. Lighter weight, full range of motion, that sort of thing. But yeah, that's generally what a recovery week looks like when I'm programming it for my people.
Thank you.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
that's like super informative because, again, I just feel like most people don't know what that looks like realistically. And it is a game changer. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's like they just build and then crash and burn.
Yeah, you either get injured or you burn out. The older we are, the more susceptible to that we are. And that sort of fits in that where we started with flexible consistency
Yes.
is
Yeah.
you're maintaining your training, but you're giving yourself permission to have a slower, easier week
Yeah.
and yeah, take some time off. And that happens naturally when there's races, but people often neglect it in their training seasons.
Sometimes I will slot 2 rest days in a recovery week, depending on the athlete and how much
Yeah.
fatigue they're carrying. Or that rest day could be like go for a walk. But still,
If you need to put something there.
you need to put something there and they feel the need to move because some people cannot sit still either. They don't rest well. So I give them permission to go do like a 30-minute walk or something to move their body, just get some movement in. Because that is a legit thing for some people. I do think that there are some people that really struggle with stillness, right?
Yeah, I think I used to be like that, but now I love rest days.
Yeah, I'm good with a rest day. I like my rest days now are not sit around and do nothing. I will say
Mm,
that I almost always do mobility or something because I find that when I don't do something, I feel rusty. I feel
mm.
stiff. I feel like motion is the lotion. My chiropractor used to say that all the time. And I say that to people. That is one of my phrases. Everyone knows, oh yeah, PK is going to say motion is the lotion. And it is, right?
Yeah.
Body is built to move. It's not built to sit in a chair all day or on the couch. It is
No.
built to move. A rest day doesn't have to mean you need to sit on your butt all day.
No.
Go for a little bit of a walk, do a little bit of mobility or foam rolling. Just don't go and walk for 5 hours.
Yes. Awesome. To wrap up, what does unstoppable at any age mean to you?
Oh, I think it means you just figure out what lights you up and you do it. You put fear aside because that's the one thing about this stage of life for me. The filter I had before is gone. It's gone. I don't care anymore. Like, I
Yeah.
don't care. You get to a point where you're like, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna do whatever I want, and I don't care what people think of me. That is freeing. And I think that feeling to me makes me feel unstoppable.
Yes.
It makes me unafraid of saying, you know what, I'm going to go and try something different because it's not, even if you don't succeed the way you hoped, you've still done something different. You've still gained some experience doing something different, which to me is valuable.
Oh,
And
100%. Yeah. And you tried something new. You got yourself all lit up again about something.
yeah, that's to me is part of being unstoppable.
I love that. So, if people wanted to find you online, your website and your Instagram handle, what are they?
Okay, Instagram is Coach PK. So it's coach.p.k. And my website is pkperformancecoaching.com.
Awesome. I will put all of those in the show notes as well. But thank you so much for everything you shared today. It was super informative. And I love hearing about your experience personally through all of this online. I always look forward to your posts. They make me feel a lot more normal about the stuff that I'm going through. Because even though I train with a master's team, there's actually nobody, there's only one other person in my actual age category on that team. So I feel like it's unique. We're like about a year apart. So
Yeah,
we're in about the same place with how that's feeling.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
that is true. There's some teams that this stuff isn't really talked about. There's not
Mm,
really space for this. So it's nice that you have someone at least that's around you in your age
yes.
that
Yeah, I love talking about this. So I talk about it a lot, but everyone's experiences are a little bit different. So it's nice to hear yours align with mine very closely.
excellent.
Anyway, thank you so much. And I'll be in touch soon.
Great, thank you.
If this conversation expanded what you believe is possible, share it with somebody who needs to hear it. And if you haven't already, follow the podcast so you don't miss future episodes. This podcast is part of a global movement called Women Who Move, helping women train for their future health through daily movement. You can join us at drshawnadarou.com. Because strength isn't behind you, it's built through what you choose to do next. I'm Dr. Shawna Darou, and this is Unstoppable at Any Age.